conflict between Israel and seven armed groups is escalating dangerously, turning into the deadliest confrontation between the two sides. Amidst the relentless exchange of gunfire and missile strikes, an astonishing revelation has left the world in awe. Israel, a nation whose people are considered the children of God, has publicly acknowledged to the world that God has been actively intervening in their battles with the armed groups. The divine hand of God, they claim, has shielded them amidst the rains of bombs and rockets. According to Israel's official statement, the hand of God has been protecting them from the brutal attacks launched by the militant groups. Missiles that seemed impossible to avoid suddenly veer off course. Bombs fall dangerously close but cause no harm. This remarkable phenomenon has sparked international debate and reflection. Could there truly be a supernatural force at play? Or is this merely a series of extraordinary coincidences? While the answer remains a mystery, the events unfolding on the battlefield have left many convinced that something out of the ordinary is happening. Israel's acknowledgement of divine intervention not only reaffirms the country's deep-rooted religious beliefs, but also ignites a wave of strong reactions from the parties involved, adding further complexity and unpredictability to the already volatile situation. This revelation has introduced a new dimension to the conflict, leaving both supporters and skeptics to question what the future holds in this intense struggle. Israel's admission that God is actively intervening in its conflict with armed groups not only shocked the world, but also raises profound questions about the nature of supernatural intervention and the role of God in warfare. Is this intervention real, or merely a manifestation of deep religious faith during a moment of peril? And if indeed a divine power is at play, what does it mean for Israel's future, especially when viewed through the lens of biblical prophecy? Throughout history, Israel has been regarded as the chosen people of God, with numerous biblical stories depicting God's protection and guidance of this nation. Tales of ancient battles, like the conquest of Jericho or David's victory over Goliath, carry the message that God not only watches over, but actively intervenes in the fate of the people of Israel. The admission that God is still intervening in the current conflict can be seen as a continuation of these long-standing religious traditions, a way for Israel to reaffirm that they are still under the divine protection of the Almighty. However, this acknowledgement also raises questions about the nature of the current war. If God is truly intervening, what does this mean for human free will and the nature of armed conflict? This war is not just a military struggle, but also a battle of faith, morality, and loyalty to a higher power. Are human actions in this war still entirely driven by free will, or have they been influenced by a supernatural force? Furthermore, the admission of divine intervention opens up a new perspective on Israel's future within the biblical context. Many religious scholars suggest that God's intervention in earthly events is often tied to signs of the end times. In the Bible, signs of the end times include wars, unrest, and supernatural events that defy human explanation. Could this intervention be an indication that the prophecies about the end of days are beginning to unfold? Israel's claim that they are being protected by the hand of God may bolster their confidence in continuing the fight, even under international pressure. This could shift Israel's political and strategic landscape in the coming months. A nation that believes it is receiving divine support will behave differently from one relying solely on conventional military strength. The Word of God is alive and powerful, and together we are witnessing the fulfillment of many promises in the Bible. This is a wonderful time for us to stand firm, learn, and grow in our faith. First, I'd like to invite you to click the like button on this video. This simple gesture helps YouTube share this content with more people, giving them the opportunity to learn more about God's Word and be blessed by these life-changing truths. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so now. It's completely free. By subscribing, you'll be kept up to date with all the latest content we share. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming videos that we've carefully prepared. Your support not only benefits you, but also helps others hear and experience the wonders of God's Word, allowing all of us to grow together on this journey of faith. Let us take a moment together to pray for peace for those who are living amidst war and conflict. We ask God to soothe the pain and hatred, replacing them with love, forgiveness, and compassion. May God guide the world's leaders to seek the path of dialogue and reconciliation, putting the well-being of humanity and justice above all else. Lord, we pray for comfort and healing for those suffering from the devastation of war and conflict. Please protect the weak and the oppressed and bring them hope for a future filled with peace. We ask you to grant us the strength to become messengers of peace, to live according to the love and charity you have taught us. Guide us to sow seeds of peace where there is hatred, and bring your light to the darkest corners of the world. Not only Israel, but nearly all nations around the world place great trust in technological advancements and their military strength. Countries invest heavily in modern weaponry, defense systems, and advanced military strategies, believing that these elements will safeguard their citizens during conflicts. However, reality has shown that no matter how sophisticated the technology, military equipment cannot guarantee the complete protection of human life. In the heat of battle, amidst the devastation of missiles and bombs, the power of machines often proves insufficient in shielding soldiers on the front lines or protecting innocent civilians from brutal attacks. Yet in the darkest moments, when all hope seems lost, something miraculous and inexplicable has occurred. Despite the ferocity of the conflict, an unseen force seems to intervene, protecting soldiers trapped in sieges and shielding civilians from the onslaught of missiles and bombs. This force cannot be explained by science or technology and transcends all logical understanding. It carries a supernatural quality, prompting people to wonder if there is a higher power intervening to save them. Stories of miraculous survival under heavy bombardment or seemingly impossible escapes have led many to reconsider the role of faith and the supernatural in times of war. Perhaps in the most desperate moments, when all modern defense systems have failed, people are protected by a greater force that they cannot see or fully comprehend. This power goes beyond human capability and technological prowess, offering safety in situations where salvation seems impossible. For many, this might serve as evidence of divine intervention, whether it be God or some other unseen force silently guarding humanity from the destruction of war. This realization not only highlights the limitations of technology and military might, but also serves as a reminder of the existence of forces beyond human control and understanding. It opens a deeper reflection on the relationship between humanity and the divine, suggesting that in times of conflict, there may be more at play than we can perceive. There is always an inexplicable power that protects all of us. Even though we may not see it, we are never truly alone in every moment of life, from times of joy and happiness to moments of deep sorrow and darkness. The presence of God constantly surrounds and shelters us. Sometimes in the midst of trials and challenges, when all hope seems lost, we can still feel His divine protection and care. God is not only with us in times of peace, but also walks with us through the hardest moments, bringing comfort and hope. He is an invisible source of strength, always ready to lift us up and guide us through the trials of life. In Psalm 91, verse 4, it is written, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge." This is a powerful affirmation of God's loving protection for those who place their trust in Him. God is portrayed as a safe refuge, a strong fortress where we can find shelter and peace. He promises to rescue us from dangers, traps, and illnesses. Under His protection, we can rest assured, knowing that God is always present, guarding, guiding, and walking with us through every challenge in life. The Bible frequently highlights God's promise to protect the people of Israel, especially during times of great difficulty, such as the end times. One of the most significant passages comes from Isaiah 41:10-13, where God declares, "Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. All who rage against you will surely be ashamed and disgraced. Those who oppose you will be as nothing and perish. Though you search for your enemies, you will not find them. Those who wage war against you will be as nothing at all. For I am the Lord your God who takes hold of your right hand and says to you, do not fear, I will help you. This passage powerfully conveys God's unwavering promise that Israel will not stand alone in times of trials. He commits to being with them, protecting and strengthening them through every challenge they face. God not only assures his constant presence, but also promises to uphold Israel, granting them strength in the face of adversity. He further emphasizes that those who oppose Israel will be defeated and humiliated. The enemies who rise up in anger and try to attack Israel will become nothing. They will be destroyed and disappear. God's all-encompassing protection not only involves defending Israel from harm, but also guarantees that their enemies will be rendered powerless and unable to cause any harm. This promise is a clear commitment that Israel will be safeguarded from all threats. And during their most difficult moments, God will be their strong refuge. He provides not only physical protection, but also encourages them to maintain a firm faith in his divine presence. When confronted with fear and uncertainty, God commands Israel not to be afraid, for he, the all-powerful Lord, will hold their hand, guiding and protecting them through every challenge. This passage serves as a source of encouragement not just for Israel, but also as a reminder of God's limitless power to protect those who trust and rely on him. It demonstrates that in all circumstances, no matter how dangerous or daunting, God will always be present to shield and fight for his chosen people. It is a testament to God's unwavering loyalty and commitment to Israel, especially during the most trying times. When closely examining the stories in the Bible, we see that in order to enter the Promised Land, the people of Israel had to face the city of Jericho, a fortified city with high, strong walls that were considered impenetrable. Jericho was not only a symbol of physical defense, but also a major obstacle that Israel had to overcome in their journey to fulfill God's promise. Instead of commanding the Israelites to attack the walls directly or rely on conventional military force, God gave Joshua a very strange and unconventional plan to conquer Jericho. God instructed the Israelites to march around the city once a day for 6 days. They did not carry weapons or engage in any military action. Leading the procession were priests blowing trumpets made of ram's horns, followed by the Ark of the Covenant, which symbolized God's presence among his people. On the 7th day, the Israelites were commanded to march around the city 7 times, and after the 7th circuit, the priest would blow a long blast on the trumpets, at which point Joshua would instruct the people to shout. As the Israelites obeyed and followed God's instructions, something miraculous happened. The walls of Jericho collapsed completely without the need for any forceful attack. The Israelites were then able to enter the city and conquer it with ease. This story is more than just a historical event. It carries a profound message about faith and obedience. God did not ask the Israelites to rely on their own strength to achieve victory, but instead called for complete trust in his plan. The fall of Jericho demonstrated that when people place their trust in God and follow his guidance, even the seemingly impossible can happen. The conquest of Jericho stands as a powerful testimony to God's power and his assistance to the people of Israel in their journey to the Promised Land. It now seems that we are witnessing the same kind of divine intervention once again. What is happening on Israel's battlefield today is not just another phase in the long, turbulent history of conflict in the Middle East. It is not merely a matter of technology or weapons failing to function as expected, but something much greater is unfolding. What many call luck or coincidence, those who believe in God recognize as the fulfillment of ancient prophecies written thousands of years ago. Prophecies that foretold God's promise to protect his chosen people in the most difficult of times. In the Bible, there are numerous prophecies about God's protection over the nation of Israel, especially during times of danger and turmoil. Those who believe in God do not see the current events as mere accidents or strokes of luck. They view them as manifestations of the ancient promises God made to defend Israel. God has promised to shield his chosen people from their enemies during the most perilous moments. For believers, this is not just a matter of religious faith, but a reality they are witnessing unfold in front of their eyes. Looking at the battlefield, there are elements at play that go beyond human understanding and modern science. Advanced weaponry sometimes fails to achieve its intended effect, and Israeli soldiers and civilians seem to be miraculously protected from devastating attacks. For those with faith, these events are not random, but rather acts of divine intervention, a testament to God's promise that He would stand with Israel and protect them in times of crisis. Many may call it luck or chance, but for those who believe in the Bible, this is part of a larger divine plan foretold long ago. The promises of God's protection over Israel are recorded in many books of the Bible, from Isaiah to Psalms. These prophecies speak of a time when Israel would face unprecedented challenges, yet they would always have God's divine protection. Regardless of differing perspectives, one thing is clear. What is happening today in Israel is sparking deep reflection on the role of faith, the supernatural, and prophecy in the modern world. It raises larger questions about God's involvement in conflicts and the fulfillment of ancient prophecies in contemporary times. For many, this is not merely a geopolitical dispute, but part of a greater story, a story of faith and the fulfillment of promises God made to the people of Israel thousands of years ago. Throughout history, many events have been recorded where people believe that God intervened to protect the soldiers and citizens of Israel on the battlefield. A more recent example of this belief occurred during a conflict with armed groups in Gaza. Numerous stories have emerged about how Israeli soldiers were miraculously protected. In several instances, rockets and missiles launched by Hamas hit military targets in Israel, but, incredibly, caused no casualties. This was because the missiles either failed to detonate or veered off course unexpectedly, preventing any significant harm. Many who witness these events attribute them to divine intervention, seeing it as a continuation of the protection promised in the Bible. A notable example of Israel's protection is the Iron Dome missile defense system. While Iron Dome is designed to intercept and destroy incoming rockets, it is not always able to intercept every missile. There have been instances where rockets, expected to land in densely populated areas, suddenly changed direction or exploded in places where they caused little to no damage. This has led many to believe that such occurrences are not mere coincidences, but signs of divine intervention protecting Israel during dangerous moments. Stories like these have strengthened the faith of many in God's miraculous shielding and protection, especially in the most challenging situations on the battlefield. If God's intervention in this conflict is indeed real, the consequences could be profound for the destiny of nations. Ancient prophecies speak of a time when God will rise to defend His people in a visible and powerful way in front of all nations. If this is happening now, the world could be witnessing the fulfillment of these prophetic promises. Such divine protection would not only impact Israel, but could also change how other nations perceive faith and supernatural power in the modern world. It may signal the unfolding of significant events in human history, potentially leading to major shifts in political, religious, and spiritual dynamics globally. What we are witnessing might not just be a regular conflict, but a harbinger of the fulfillment of ancient promises that believers have long awaited. If God is truly intervening in this conflict, the consequences could be profound, reshaping not only Israel's future, but also the entire world. What happens next might follow the exact scenario foretold in the scriptures, where God takes powerful action to protect His people. This raises significant questions about the fate of other nations. How will they react? What will happen to the nations opposing Israel if divine protection is indeed at play? If the prophecies in the Bible are being fulfilled, we may be witnessing the beginning of a significant and tumultuous era. These events could dramatically alter the political and religious landscape of the world, forcing nations to reassess not just their military power, but also their faith in the supernatural and the meaning of these unfolding events. So, how should we prepare ourselves mentally and spiritually for the potential changes ahead? As Israel faces numerous challenges, from its complex political position to constant military threats, the idea of divine intervention brings a tremendous sense of spiritual strength. The belief in God's presence and His promise of protection not only motivates Israel's military and its people, but could also ripple across the world, prompting reflection on the role of faith in today's society. This conflict is no longer just a military confrontation. It has evolved into a battle of faith, spirituality, and the ancient promises of God. the world may witness a major shift in how nations interact, a rise in religious fervor, and deeper questions about humanity's destiny in the modern age. If God is indeed stepping in to protect Israel, we could be entering a new era where the outcome is unpredictable, and the effects will be felt globally. In the Bible, the Jewish people were repeatedly aided by God in times of war, a testament to his supernatural intervention on their behalf. One of the most striking examples of this divine assistance occurred when Joshua, the leader of Israel after Moses, prayed to God during a battle against the kings of Canaan. This event is recorded in the book of Joshua, chapter 10. The context of this battle was critical for the survival of Israel. The Israelites were engaged in a fierce conflict with a coalition of Canaanite kings. The battle took place at Gibeon, a city that had entered into an alliance with Israel through a treaty. When 5 kings from surrounding regions united to attack Gibeon, Joshua led the Israelite army to defend their allies. Before the battle commenced, Joshua prayed to God, asking for his divine help to ensure victory. God responded to Joshua's prayer by intervening in a miraculous way. First, he threw the enemy forces into confusion, causing them to panic and flee. Then God sent a hailstorm from the heavens, with the hailstones striking and killing many of the enemy soldiers. However, the most extraordinary miracle occurred when Joshua prayed for more time to complete the battle. Joshua asked God to make the sun stand still and the moon stop in their places to prolong the daylight and give Israel more time to defeat their enemies. Joshua prayed, "O sun, stand still over Gibeon, and O moon, over the valley of Ajalon." Joshua 10:12. In response to this prayer, the Bible records that the sun halted in the sky and the moon stayed in its position until the Israelites had achieved a total victory over their enemies. This event lasted for about a full day, marking it as one of the clearest demonstrations of God's supernatural intervention in the history of Israel. God's actions not only displayed his immense power, but also his commitment to protect and guide his people. This miracle was a testimony to Joshua's unwavering faith in God, as well as to God's faithfulness in keeping his promises to the Israelites. These miraculous acts did not merely secure a military victory, but also reinforced the faith of the Israelites in God's presence and power. The stopping of the sun and moon became a powerful symbol of divine intervention in Israel's history. It underscored that, in addition to human efforts on the battlefield, there was a higher divine presence at work, controlling the course of events. These miracles not only affected the outcome of the war, but also strengthened the Israelites' belief in God as the supreme protector and guide, leading them through all challenges. The battle against the kings of Canaan and the miracle of the sun standing still left an indelible mark on Israel's history and religious identity. Through this event, God reaffirmed his sovereignty and his loyalty to the people he had chosen. It was a profound message of God's supernatural intervention in critical moments, showing that when his people put their trust in him, he would deliver them. In the current context, as Israel faces a coalition of multiple armed forces, we may once again witness the kind of divine intervention that occurred in the Bible. The history of the Jewish people, from biblical times to the present, is filled with instances where they face seemingly insurmountable challenges. Yet the Bible makes it clear that God, with his supreme power, has always been there to protect and guide them through the most difficult trials. One of the Bible's most powerful messages is that nations will rise and fall. Conflicts and wars will arise, but ultimately, God's plans will prevail. The Bible not only recounts past events, but also provides a prophetic vision of the future, emphasizing that the destiny of nations lies in God's hands. The unfolding of current events should remind us that he is in control of all history. In the book of Joshua and many other biblical accounts, God demonstrated his power through miraculous acts to defend his people. Even when Israel was confronted with powerful coalitions, God showed that no earthly force could stand against his will. Just as Joshua prayed and witnessed the sun standing still during the battle against the kings of Canaan, we are reminded that God is ever present and works according to his divine plan. The current events Israel faces are not just military conflicts. They carry deep spiritual and historical significance. Nations, no matter how strong, are subject to the hand of God. He is not only the creator, but also the sovereign Lord of all human history. In times when the situation seems unstable and unpredictable, the Bible reminds us that God never loses control. He continues to guide events according to his divine will. This reminder is especially important in times of crisis and conflict, when we might easily forget that human history is not merely the result of political actions or decisions, but is part of God's greater plan. It is during the most challenging times, when the path forward seems unclear, that God continues to act and fulfill his purposes. The current crisis is not only a test for Israel, but also a reminder to all of humanity about God's sovereign power. Whether we fully understand the meaning of these events or not, the key is to remember that God is in control of all history, and in the end, his will shall always prevail. We must place our trust in him and believe that everything will unfold according to his divine plan. We must keep our hearts and minds focused on the promises of God. The future may seem uncertain, but for those who believe in him, there is a firm hope that no matter what happens, God's plan will be fulfilled. The Bible reminds us that God holds not only the power over our individual lives, but also over the entire course of human history. His plan is always moving toward redemption and will come to completion in his perfect timing. For all of us, God's call is clear. Watch, pray, and hold fast to your faith. In times of trial, we must remember that what is happening is not merely a chapter in human history, but an essential part of God's grand design for the redemption of his people in the world. The events unfolding now may seem chaotic or overwhelming, but they are part of a greater purpose, guided by the sovereign hand of God. The uncertainties and difficulties we face today can easily lead to discouragement or fear, but it is precisely in these moments that we need to turn our hearts to God even more. We cannot control the events of life, but God can. He is guiding the course of humanity, even in the midst of what seems like turmoil. Instead of being consumed by fear or doubt, we must hold firmly to our faith and trust in God's promises. God calls us not only to live out our personal faith, but also to be part of his greater plan. Everything happening in the world is serving the purpose of redemption, to save and deliver humanity from sin. Let us cling to this hope, knowing that in the end, God's plan will be accomplished. The promise of Christ's return and the fulfillment of God's redemptive plan provides believers with a powerful hope for the future, regardless of the challenges they face in life. The Exodus from Egypt is a clear demonstration of God's intervention, showing that he not only rescued his people from slavery, but also continued to protect and lead them through difficult times, from exile to modern conflicts. Today, many people still believe that God is with them, shielding them from their enemies, whether physical or spiritual. This protection can manifest in different ways, sometimes through direct intervention, such as miracles, but often through the spiritual strength God grants to help people stand firm in the face of adversity. God's promise is not only about protection, but also about the complete restoration of all things. With the belief that Christ will return and renew the world, believers hold on to a profound hope for a future where justice, peace, and redemption will be fully realized. This enduring hope keeps the faithful steadfast, trusting that God's plan will come to pass no matter the circumstances. Throughout history, religious faith has been inseparable from the political conflicts in the Middle East. This region is not only a battleground for power struggles between nations, but also the epicenter of major world religions like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Many believe that events taking place here carry deep religious significance and may be signs of great prophetic events in which divine intervention will play a decisive role. The geopolitical conflicts in the Middle East are not confined to the region alone, but have a wide-reaching impact globally. Territorial power and religious disputes here have repeatedly drawn major world powers into involvement, making the region a focal point for global attention. For those of faith, these political struggles are seen not only as power plays, but as potential signs of the prophecies mentioned in the Bible, which they believe may herald profound changes for humanity. Therefore, the interplay between faith and politics will continue to shape how the world interprets and responds to events in the Middle East. Those who believe in prophecy will closely watch what unfolds, seeing it as an indication that we may be nearing pivotal moments in human history. The debate over God's intervention in the current conflict continues to resonate deeply, both within and outside of Israel. Many believe that the unfolding events are not merely the result of political and military strategies, but part of a greater divine plan, predestined by God. For these individuals, faith in God's intervention not only offers hope, but also provides a sense of meaning and purpose amidst the complex situation. This belief serves as both a source of comfort and strength, helping people feel that what is happening is not random, but rather part of a larger plan orchestrated by God. It creates a sense of a higher purpose, where conflict and hardship are seen as having a spiritual reason. The debate about God's role in current events centers not only on his protection and guidance of Israel, but also on how these events may align with biblical prophecies. I pray, Lord, that you help me live fully in faith, so that I may not only feel your presence, but also become a light, spreading your love and redemption to those around me. Grant me the ability to hear your calling every day, walking in your love and truth. May my faith grow stronger and my heart remain steadfast, fully trusting in you, my Lord.